following contains violence, coarse language, and adult situations not suitable for minors. Viewer discretion is advised.
Is that echo coming from your end?
What echo?
Oh shit, man. I heard
You're gonna get yourself booted from the room. Stop.
What?
I was talking to my cat. Yeah, no. Booted from room. Be gone. Alright. Hello everyone. Welcome to tonight's stream. We apologize for not being here last week, but I was struck down by a mysterious disease of unknown origin.
Again?
No, not really, but I just had what I assumed to be some form of stomach bug.
I thought you were referring to a disease that we don't mention.
Exactly.
That has a strand with a Greek alphabet, the Greek letter in it.
Mm-hmm. Precisely. So before we get into our EFAP ripoff, I do have something to say. It is about things that happened this week. That being GW's new guidelines. I think GW needs to realize they're gonna kill their own product because they have banned fan creation almost entirely. It's fabulous. I suppose it gives new meaning to the phrase to get woke, go broke. No. No. Do not jump on the desk. All right. That's all I had.
Really, that's all you're gonna bring up of all the things that happened this week?
I don't care about Chris Chan.
Or Blizzard. Or Scarlett Johansson.
I don't know what went on with Blizzard, so.
Just that Blizzard was just exposed to have been very, kind of a pretty abusive towards its female staff.
Oh.
Apparently, they have this little club that's named after Bill Cosby. Supposedly they underpay their female staff.
Huh.
Have a sort of I guess
culture is toxic. Who would have thought about that?
And I think they also have I guess sort of like a bit of a frat boy kind of environment.
Hello, worse than you. Anyway, we're gonna do Pop Culture Detective, The Tragedy of Droids, which I assume is like the factual, not the fact, is like Feminist Frequency's take on sort of the orcs are black people argument.
Yes, droids are black people, and then Lando and Windu are just like, bitch, what the fuck you talking about?
Anyway, if you don't know who Jonathan McIntosh is, he's basically the money behind Anita Sarkeesian. So everything she believes, he believes. And there you go. That's basically what drives Pop Culture Detective. And not even like his own earned money, he uses his daddy's money. That being said, we've got 35 minutes and I don't want to be here for 4 hours, so
let's get to it.
The very first.
I hope John Williams isn't going to sue somebody.
Well, better not
Characters
be
you're
us.
introduced to in Star Wars are a pair of robots.
Yes. Okay.
Did you hear that? They shut down the main reactor. We'll be destroyed for sure. This is madness.
And it's through their mechanical eyes that we initially experience this galaxy far, far away.
I find that so weird that he feels
True,
obliged to actually
class
have
has a
Star
motion.
Wars 1977 written on it, as if we couldn't already tell what movie it was.
Yeah, I know.
I know that's a thing that a lot of like film YouTubers like to do when they show like movie clips. They need to tell you what the title is and what year it came out. But this is a Star Wars: A New Hope. Everybody knows
Like,
what it is.
Yeah.
Emotionally relatable underdogs.
I wouldn't call them emotionally relatable. I would consider the R2-D2 and C-3PO in the initial stages of the movie exposition vehicles more than anything else. Like we're told, we see big ship chasing little ship. We cut into what we assume is the smaller ship. Actually, we cut into one of the ships. We really don't know which one is which at the time. One of them says that they've caught us, or they've disabled the main reactor, or it will be destroyed, and they proceed onward. Hello, Cyrek. They proceed onward, and they get in sort of this crossfire of these people in white uniforms versus guys in blue and black uniforms. But it's to introduce us to the whole idea that these are the two factions. They're fighting each other, or like this is what's going on in the world, kind of thing.
And we immediately empathize with them and their predicament.
I'm going to regret this.
There goes another one.
Hold your fire. There's no life forms.
I'd argue that droids are as central to the success and popularity of Star Wars as stormtroopers or Jedi Knights.
To an extent.
I agree. Marketability is definitely like a piece here, but I would say, like the characters of Han Solo, Luke and Leia, Ben Kenobi, and Darth Vader. Let's be honest, were far more influential on the popularity of Star Wars. But I suppose but he said he could argue it, and I suppose that's enough. But still, that's you'd have to do a lot of he'd have to do quite a bit to convince me.
If not more so.
Hollywood, California, August 1977. To the world-famous Chinese theater come the stars of the biggest box office success in motion picture history.
Are those the only two Star Wars characters in that video?
I don't think so. I think they probably all walked in costume. So
I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen the original footage.
Neither have I.
But if that is the case, then that is really bad faith just to only show those two.
Mm-hmm.
In the decades since, endearing droids have become an almost ubiquitous fixture in popular culture. In fact, it's not really a Star Wars story unless there's a lovable or memorable droid stealing the spotlight.
No.
No.
Did the Darth Bane trilogy have a droid? I don't think it did.
not a lovable, like, sidekicky one. There were droids that were used, but at the end of the day, they're droids. They have their intended personality. Like, that's it. Like, they're just a piece of the world. They don't have to be the plucky sidekick.
Congratulations. You are being rescued. Please do not resist.
K2SO's the only reason he takes up the spotlight is because everybody else is as bland as a rock.
Very true.
You done flirting?
Hello, Femputer.
I'm still ready.
Would anyone care for some tea?
But when you
Wait, how was that? How was that? How was that stealing the spotlight? He just walks in and asks if they want tea.
Because it's funny. You're supposed to
really
laugh.
stop and think about it, there's also something profoundly tragic about the role these artificial life forms play in the Star Wars universe.
Dark humor. Don't think too much. Don't think too heavily about it.
That might seem like an odd thing to say, given that droids are written as comic relief characters.
Regardless, their position in the world is that they're not sentient. They're just pieces of machinery. Like, what? It's a droid. It has an on-off switch. It's not a living thing.
What did I do to deserve this?
R2-D2 and C-3PO were famously based on the two bickering peasants from Akira Kurosawa's 1958 classic, The Hidden Fortress.
Okay, I know Lucas was inspired by samurai movies. I don't think he was that specific, though.
That's what I always hear. I haven't seen the movie myself.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. Regardless, it doesn't. There's no reason why he should bring this up.
I've just about had enough of you. Go that way. You'll be malfunctioning within a day, you nearsighted pile. And don't let me catch you following me, begging for help, because you won't get it.
But in addition to their more humorous qualities, both the peasants and the droids represent an oppressed underclass.
Okay, how? Like, genuinely, how? They don't have emotions. Like, they don't. That's not a thing that droids have in the Star Wars universe.
We seem to be made to suffer. It's our lot in life.
I mean,
C-3PO
3PO does show a range of emotions, at least. You still with us, Clayton?
Yes.
Cat giving you trouble again?
No. I was just taking a drink of water.
More right than he knows. Because droids in Star Wars are written and designed as an exploitable workforce.
Oh boy.
All right.
Is this going to be about capitalism for the entire video?
That or slavery or something else. He'll probably relate it to both. But let's be honest here. There is no species in the galaxy that could do this. Without the droids, they're dead. They would have to have landed on the capital ship for the bombardment. After that, they would have to have landed on one of the ships in the blockade in order for them to be repaired. Otherwise, they're dead. Without the droids, there is no movie. But more realistically, within the world that within the world that Star Wars takes place in, what species can do this? Like even in reality, really we're gonna send humans or like whatever alien species exist is to make a repair while going at extremely high speed while being fired upon, and we're going to trust an organic to make that repair. Like we're really going to do this, huh? Droids are an oppressed minority despite the fact that R2 was basically hailed as a fucking hero by that entire ship because he literally saved all their lives.
Yeah, it's a thing about the droids is that sure they can show emotions, but they're still limited to their programming. They don't have like true free will. Like C3PO by nature is a very subservient character, and
Yeah,
that's because
exactly.
it's in his programming.
We're losing droids fast.
They do the tedious, difficult, or dangerous manual labor that keeps the galaxy running.
Okay. Again, a necessary thing. Like, I mean, yes, the robot waitress is a little luxurious, but really, having a robot waitress is just good business. Honestly, you don't have to pay it. It'll take all the orders and whatnot. And if you have a themed restaurant, i.e., a diner, she can give sass.
You want a cup of Java juice?
Hey, you, no droids. Get out of here.
Droids are, in effect, second-class citizens.
No droids.
Well, if droids could think, there'd be none of us here, would there?
Yeah, pretty much. If they had free will, that would. Yeah.
What if the droids had free will? Why wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Why aren't they represented as a sentient species?
Imagine how the Clone Wars would turn out if the droids could think for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think they'd be taking General Grievous's crap?
Well, A, no, but B, if they had if the CIS had an army equally as intelligent and with the processing speed of droids, there would be no Clone Wars because the CIS would just sweep. Imagine that. Warrior, like droid, he's in the Star Wars universe, already exhibits some form of intelligence based upon programming. If that programming were good enough that the droids were sentient and could adapt instead of being continually ordered and thrown wave upon wave, even against your enemies, well, I'm sorry, they're droids, so they're quite a bit more durable than everybody else. And their processing speed is way faster.
Who are consistently disrespected and openly discriminated against.
Hey, we don't serve their kind here.
What?
You're a droid. They'll have to wait outside. We don't want them here.
Yeah, that's why would he have droids in his establishment? Why? They're not paying customers. They can't eat or drink. Why would he have them there? Like, they can't do anything. No service. He's not going to gain any profit off of them. Get the fuck out.
Make your way out by the speeder. We don't want any trouble.
I heartily agree with you, sir.
Their movements are restricted and tightly controlled with restraining bolts to ensure complete obedience.
But restraining bolts aren't commonplace. Like, no droid that's in the wild has a restraining bolt. they're used by people like the Jawas, who are junkers and scavengers in the desert, and they're used by other people who want to like get information out of the droids. Why? Like, I don't understand. What's your point here? By the way, that's the only time we would see a restraining bolt used in any Star Wars movie.
Have the protocol droid's mind wiped.
What?
Their minds and memories are periodically erased
Oh no.
as a matter of course. They're also bought and sold like cattle.
Okay.
Droid
Cattle aren't.
slavery.
They're not people. Neither are cattle.
They're machines. They're literally designed for a purpose. Like
Also-
C-3PO is programmed to help out to be basically someone's personal assistant.
I like
What
that. Oh, sorry. Finish.
Like that's what his existence is, to be your personal assistant.
Yeah, I was gonna say I like how like Owen Lars doesn't even recognize C-3PO, even though he used to own him.
No, he didn't.
Yeah, Attack of the Clones. Remember?
Oh yeah.
I like to think that 3PO is just so beneath him he wouldn't even bother to remember the name of his droid. I mean, can you remember the brand of your last coffee maker?
Few in this universe seem to notice or care that droids are casually used, abused, and disintegrated.
Disintegrated.
You can probably guess where I'm going with this.
Slavery. Duh. It's always about slavery.
Because the social arrangement I've just described is one of property and owner. And a property relationship between two intelligent beings that gives one absolute power over the other is called slavery.
Okay. Again, droids are not sentient. K2SO, or not K2SO, Fembot does not count. She is a puppet for which the directors and producers of Hollywood beat the public over the head with how morally righteous they are. Or by saying, hey, look at this character. She's a freedom fighter. She's a social justice warrior.
Can you speak Bocce? Of course I can, sir. It's like a second language to me. I'm as
All right, shut up. I'll take this one.
Shutting up, sir.
All right, come on.
The use of robots as an allegory for slavery in science fiction can be traced back more than a century. In fact, the word robot itself is derived from the Slavic word for serf or slave.
What?
All right, I'm looking this up. Robot etymology.
No.
Let's see here. 1920s from Czech, from robota, forced labor.
So, no, it's not. So, slave comes from Slav. Like the name of the people that were in Eastern Europe were called the Slavs, and the people of Greece used to use them all the time as like slave labor. So Slav, slave. This is not a robot. A forced labor is not a slave. You do not have to be a slave to be forced into labor.
And first appeared in a 1920 Czech play entitled RUR, or Rossum's Universal Robots. The story tells the tale of an artificial people created as an exploitable workforce. who eventually rebel and overthrow their human masters. Isaac Asimov's famous 3 laws of robotics were in large part a reaction to the kind of robotic revolt storylines popularized by RUR.
The first law is as follows. A robot may not harm a human being or through inaction allow a human being to come to harm.
Second law. A robot must obey all human orders, except where those orders come in conflict with the first law.
But as Isaiah Lavender III observes in his book Race in American Science Fiction, while Asimov's 3 laws are intended to ensure the safety and superiority of humans, they actually ensure the technological bondage and inferiority of robots.
Okay, but again...
Okay, but this isn't Star Wars.
Correct. This is the Animatrix, and I have to be honest, this would be a poor use for robots. We already have things that lift heavy things and can put them on places. They're called cranes. Having a robotic crane, now that will be a good use of the robot because we're using what we already have. There's no point in having this happen here with robots. There would be no point to it.
Science fiction stories have consistently grappled with questions of artificial consciousness and exploited robotic labor.
Yeah, but the thing about the people in the fakes in Blade Runner is that they are sentient. Like there is no indication that the robots that the
replicants, in fact, they're not even robots. They're genetically engineered.
Yeah, like the replicants in Blade Runner are meant to bring that question to the fore. There is no reason that Star Wars needs to approach that question. And when they did it stupidly. Because it just doesn't fit the Star Wars world.
Life, not malfunction. Not malfunction. I am alive.
You know, it's by like an extreme coincidence that Johnny 5 gets to be alive. Like, it's part of the plot of the movie.
A famous example appears in the Star Trek The Next Generation episode Measure of a Man.
Verify. Lieutenant Commander Data.
Wherein Data's right to self-determination is put on trial.
Now tell me, Commander, what is data? I don't understand.
Once again, this is not Star Wars.
Yeah. Again, this is not Star Wars, and I've seen this debate, and it's not one of Star Trek's finest.
Yeah, Star Trek is allowed to be deep. That's part of the prior to 2009, that was a big aspect of Star Trek.
Yeah, it's intended to bring that sort of question forward.
I mean,
I would argue that Star Wars isn't science fiction anyway. I would argue it's science fantasy, if anything else.
Yeah, pretty much.
Or if you really want to get onto it, it's straight up fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, Star Wars does arguably still have philosophy to it, but compared to something like Star Trek or Blade Runner, it's pretty surface level.
But it has its own unique philosophical underpinnings, like with the codes of the different factions and what those can mean. But other than that, those are primarily how one achieves, those are primarily how to deal with how one achieves enlightenment or their goals. Because the Sith Code is all about indulgence, basically. Peace is a lie. There is only power. Or with power my chains are broken, the Force shall free me. The Sith see ways of gaining, of achieving like self-actualization through the acquisition of power and indulgence and the desire to be essentially unrestrained. The Jedi underpinning philosophy is that restraint brings wisdom, which brings enlightenment, and thus self-actualization. But that has nothing to do with the sentience of droids or anything like that, because it doesn't involve them.
Are you sure? Yes! You see, he's met 2 of your 3 criteria for sentience, so what if he meets the 3rd? Consciousness in even the smallest degree. What is he then? I don't know. Do you?
Do you?
Time and again, storytellers return to narratives about robots struggling for liberation from a life of involuntary servitude. Shows like Humans and Westworld are just 2 recent examples.
Standard domestic profile installed. That'll cover all your basic housework.
Okay.
Again, this is not Star Wars, and Star Wars does not need to explore this, nor does it have to.
What's surprising about Star Wars is that despite endearing, emotional robots being integral to its universe, the franchise hasn't ever seriously engaged with the moral questions surrounding droid slavery.
Except it did. The Solo movie did it.
Yeah, the
And
Solo
now
movie
we
did
don't
it.
talk about the movie because of it.
And it did it terribly.
What are you doing hiding back there?
It wasn't my fault, sir. Please don't deactivate me.
At least not in the core movies and TV shows, which is what we're focusing on here.
Did this thing come out before Solo? Wait, no, it has footage from Rise of Skywalker. What am I saying? This had to have come out after Solo.
In fact, the subordinate status of droids wasn't directly acknowledged in any substantial way until the 2018 movie Solo gave us L337.
She's a fembot.
Just keep your pinky on the yoke. Try not to mess anything up.
We'll talk about her and the deeply uncomfortable implications of her storyline in a moment. But first, we have to ask what might seem like an obvious question. What are droids exactly?
They're machines meant to carry out whatever assignment they're programmed to do.
Precisely. Like, in one of the Clone Wars episodes, it's a later season. There are droids. They're a team of droids that are sent into Coruscant by the CIS. And they're cleaning droids. Nobody pays attention to them because, they're cleaning droids. But the droids also blow themselves up and have no regret about it. They don't question that order. They don't question desiring suicide. They're not told they're going to get some reward, or they're told their mission is to go into Coruscant, blow up to make people paranoid about an attack on Coruscant. Like, 'tis what happens. And if droids were truly sentient to any meaningful degree, why would they do that? If droids were truly sentient, they would have some form of they would have a form of self-preservation, a desire to preserve the life in them. So what can be accomplished by simply bringing in a bomb, hidden in among the junk that the droid disguised as a cleaning droid can do, and placing it down and evacuating the area would have been just as good as having them actually blow themselves up. But they blew themselves up anyway because they're not actually sentient. They're told they are programmed to to complete their mission. And if their mission involves termination at the end of it, oh well.
Webster's 24th Century Dictionary, 5th edition, defines an android as an automaton made to resemble a human being.
But in Star Wars, the shortened term droid refers to all mechanical creatures. So droids are robots.
The Encyclopedia Galactica defines a robot as a mechanical apparatus designed to do the work of a man.
Okay. Again, like these are not things that you can use by comparison. Stick within the world you know. That's Star Wars.
But what kind of robots? Are they simply super intelligent tools?
Yes.
Like they're not.
Like
It's not like they're not like real world slaves. Real world slaves have sentience. That's why it's wrong to use them as such.
Mechanical pets?
I'm so glad to see you.
Or are they sentient beings with feelings and free will? That last question is the one that matters. Because if droids are little more than glorified kitchen appliances on wheels, then it doesn't really matter how they're treated.
Then what's the point of this video?
But if droids are sentient beings, it matters a great deal. So what does it mean to say that a robot is sentient? When that question is asked in a real-world context, it nearly always refers to the hypothetical technological threshold wherein artificial intelligence crosses the line from supercomputer into self-awareness. But Star Wars is a science fiction story.
Not necessarily, but we've been over that.
And to its credit, one that hasn't been overly concerned with explaining all the technical details of its world building. It's not particularly interested in whether or not R2-D2 can pass the Turing test.
You watch your language.
This means the question of droid sentience can only really be answered by looking at what the narrative tells us about droids, through character development, dramatization, and framing. This will take a bit of detective work, though, because when it comes to its robotic characters, Star Wars is inconsistent.
I can agree, but there's a reason for that. Because it's not supposed to answer that question. There's no reason R2-D2 needs to be sentient.
To put it mildly. Droids seem to exist on a nebulous spectrum.
Did you know that wasn't me?
From those we are clearly meant to see as living, feeling beings,
Oh no!
to those we are very specifically not meant to see as being truly alive.
Uh-oh.
Let's take a closer look at these contradictions, starting with the droids we've come to know and love.
I've got a bad feeling about it.
Quiet.
What?
One of the
let him
key
say the line.
indicators of sentience in fictional storytelling is the capacity to feel emotions. And droids that are part of the main cast are practically brimming with emotion.
I mean, once again, they're limited to their programming. They're subservient to organics because they're programmed to be.
Yeah, exactly. But again, why should we assume that that's emotion?
I mean, I'm willing to argue that the droids do have emotions, but once again, it's not the same. It's not the same as us because once again, we have free will. They are limited to their programming.
There are no droid force users.
Don't give Disney ideas.
By the canonity of Star Wars, the Force is in all living things. Which means, at some point during its long history, if a droid were a living being, it would have been most likely imbued by the power of the Force. There are no droid Force users. In order to be sentient in the Star Wars universe, you have to have some connection to the Force.
Oh, it would not surprise me if Disney Star Wars did this. Okay. I mean, they introduced a fucking rock, so anything's
was a
possible with them.
A fucking rock. There's a fucking rock that's canon in Star Wars.
Yes.
God damn it.
It's not an alien made of rocks. It's an alien that is a rock. It's just this. I don't know. I guess
Is
it's
chat going like?
Yeah, it's been. Yeah, chat seems pretty quiet.
Okay.
Beyond their distinct individual personalities, droids exhibit a wide range of emotion,
Of course I'm worried, and you should be too.
including fear, happiness,
I'm so glad we took this job!
sadness, and guilt, just to name a few.
Curse my metal body, I wasn't fast enough. It's all my fault. My poor master.
We're all right!
In many ways, droids are more emotionally expressive than the human characters are.
Wipe that nervous expression off your face, 3PO.
Oh, well, I will certainly try, General.
Partly, that's
Use
due
one
to
example. Okay, I can cherry pick two. Compare Luke finding out that Vader is his father to R2D2 doing anything.
Yeah.
Actors and puppeteers who bring droids to life. But their sentience is also written into the narrative. Droids demonstrate self-awareness.
That was unpleasant. I'm sorry you had to see that.
And the capacity for deception.
All this excitement has overrun the circuits in my counterpart here. If you don't mind, I'd like to take him down to maintenance.
They joke.
You do not want to press that button with me.
They dance. They feel physical pain.
I mean, is 3PO actually dancing, or is the Ewok kind of moving him around?
But again, why? Okay, so what if droids are sentient? What if the droids in Star Wars have some form of limited sentience? My phone at present can learn how I like things and proceed to adapt the way it does things to me. Is my phone sentient? Or is it reacting to stimulus I give it? Like, am I forcing if every time I open, like I pull up, I don't know, YouTube on my phone, am I a slave master? Like, as far as we're concerned, in shown in the Star Wars universe, the droids, even if you could argue that they have limited sentience or even full sentience, they're very clearly don't have the things that would make someone alive. You know, things like self-preservation instinct or anything like that.
They can even experience lasting emotional trauma.
Hello.
Hello?
No, thank you.
Looks like someone treated him badly.
Droids
I mean,
built
that
during
is Disney Star Wars.
Yeah, like
The Disney Star Wars and Lucas Star Wars are kind of two separate entities.
I agree.
social relationships.
I want you to know that you have been a real friend or two. My best one, in fact.
Both with other robots and with human beings.
Again, Disney Star Wars. Completely different.
And the human heroes care about them in return.
Old friend.
Yeah, we care about things that aren't sentient all the time. Like, we care about things that don't have any sentience because, you know, we project our emotions onto them. Which you could argue is entirely like how the Star Wars universe would look at it. Like, they don't actually have emotion. Like the droids don't actually have emotions. They all talk in the same monotone voice. It would be the whoever's narrating that projects them onto that projects their personality onto these droids.
Well, mostly.
Excuse me, sir. Might I? Yes, sir.
When I started writing this, I found the most intriguing thing was to take two robots and make them into human beings and make them the most interesting characters.
Even though they're machines, they can choose to disobey orders.
I thought I told you to stay on the ship. You did, but I thought it was boring and you were in trouble.
Critically, droids are capable of what's referred to as recursive self-improvement. That is, the ability of an intelligent machine to independently build upon, alter, or otherwise improve on their own design.
How so? That is never shown in any Star Wars movie or media outlet that I've seen. Like, never have I seen a droid in Star Wars improve upon itself. Like, I don't.
Machines making machines. How perverse.
That's not self-improvement. If that's supposed to be self-improvement, that's not self-improvement. That's creation. They're not the robots that are making the droids are not improving upon the design of the droid. Nor are they improving upon their own designs.
Hold on, I'll be right back.
I'm going to keep going.
L337 used to be an astromech droid, but decided to upgrade herself.
Once upon a time, she was actually an R2 type droid, and she'd modified herself and given herself legs and arms and continued to evolve.
Why? Arguably, she's just... No, again, Kate, the Fembot here is not a droid in Star Wars. It is a puppet. And not the fun kind like Yoda.
This metamorphosis suggests that any droid could decide to elevate themselves. And not just those built to resemble humans.
We need to check your diagnostics.
Diagnostics? I'm capable of running my own diagnostics, thank you very much.
It seems like a pretty open and shut case, doesn't it?
No. You've presented no evidence that I would be find convincing that the droids in Star Wars are sentient to the extent that it's not meant for the audience to just like them as characters. And oh, gee, sorry. Just had like a burp attack right there. Your two biggest things right now are or droids display emotion, which is arguably which could be argued is simply a product of the natural storytelling of the storytelling and could not actually exist within the world of Star Wars itself, and that there can self-improve. But you've only shown one example of that sort of self-improvement, and that's Fembot, and she doesn't count because she's not a real droid.
Our favorite droids are clearly framed as sentient beings, and as viewers, we are clearly meant to identify with them.
Yeah, but that's for the viewers. No one actually treats the droids like... I guess Anakin does, but Anakin has, issues.
But what about battle droids?
Roger, roger.
And all the other robots in Star Wars media that exist in the background or on the edges of the main plot? Are they all sentient beings too? Well, the separatist droid army in the prequels seems specifically designed as little more than cannon fodder.
You said we'd be safe back here. Come on, there's 3 of us and only 1 of him. It won't matter.
Making the bad guys unfeeling
That
robots
was funny.
Yeah.
avoids the messy moral complications and mass casualties that would result from an interstellar war.
But both the Revenge of the Sith and the Clone Wars movies and the Clone Wars series address this. Like, it brings into question, like, again, there are attacks on medical facilities for the clones. There are casualties. We see people die in the Clone Wars series and in this and in the movie and in the 2 movies. So like it addresses that sort of thing. It does. And the Separatist Army did have factions within it that were organic, that were living.
If battle droids aren't alive, then the audience doesn't have to care when thousands of them are killed in extended battlefield scenes.
At this point of the Clone War, I have dismantled and destroyed over 100,000 of you Type 1 battle droids.
Indeed, we're encouraged to think of these types of droids as mere objects.
I said drop them.
And to cheer at their dismemberment.
But I just got promoted!
Okay, yes. What's your point?
So, we're not supposed to feel sympathy for droids until we are.
Please, reassemble us. Please reassemble us. Please
We are
reassemble
battle
us.
droids no longer.
Please,
Now we are slaves.
please reassemble.
So, we're supposed to feel sympathy for droids until we aren't.
Okay. Your point being, we're supposed to sympathize with the human characters in a movie, but the bad guys, we don't have to sympathize with them. I mean, In fact, we can root for them to die in horrible, horrible ways. I don't see a point here. All I see is you trying to muddy the waters as if your initial comment and that droids are black people, well, unsubtly as it was made, is somehow relevant. Because again, this is all about a galaxy far, far away.
I need to remove your helmet if I am to save you.
No living thing has seen me without my helmet since I swore the creed.
I am not a living thing.
Consider how, in The Mandalorian,
Again, the fact that the Mandalorian considers him living is projection. It's projecting emotion and life into something that is not alive.
the droid IG-11 denies his own sentience and value as a living being so he can provide medical assistance to the main character.
You have suffered damage to your central processing unit. That was a joke. It is meant to put you at ease.
Later, in that same episode, he overrides his own programming in order to sacrifice himself and save our heroes.
Sadly, there is no scenario where the child is saved in which I survive.
But just before he does, he again denies that he's alive in any meaningful sense.
Okay, then why not take the horse's mouth? If the word out of the horse's mouth is, no, we're not sentient, then I would have to say that they're probably not sentient.
No, we need you.
There's nothing to be sad about. I've never been alive.
Again, the fact that Mando doesn't want to let this droid sacrifice itself is that projection of projecting. We like to personify things. Like, there's a reason personification is a word. Within, and it's a term within writing. Because people personify unliving things all the time. Like, the earth moved with grace. I have applied personification to the earth which is not alive and does not move with grace.
This is a puzzling statement, given that the other characters clearly disagree.
Listen, you're not going anywhere. We need you.
In fact, the scene is a climactic turning point for the protagonist, in which he finally learns his long-held prejudice against droids is wrong.
I'm not sad.
Yes, you are. I'm a nurse droid. I've analyzed your voice.
And the emotional weight given to IG-11's heroic death suggests that Star Wars wants to have it both ways.
No. Again, looking at this from, like, the perspective of who's telling the story kind of thing, if this is sort of a record of things that happened in the past in the Star Wars world, or in Star Wars universe, then it would make sense for whatever being is relaying this story to us that would would personify the droids to make you care about them. And that makes sense. Make them characters. Regardless, again, the reason Mando is sad is because he has projected himself into the droid, not the other way around.
When it comes to droids,
IG.
It wants to treat them as characters who deserve our affection and admiration when it serves the narrative. But it also wants to treat them as mere objects the rest of the time. So what are we to make of this contradictory framing? Well, clues from the various movies and TV shows indicate that droids gain sentience gradually by accumulating experiences and memories over time.
It developed a personality as its experiences grew.
This means that while every droid we see on screen may not have achieved the same level of consciousness, every droid does have the capacity to become self-aware. It also suggests that memory wipes in Star Wars are used to repress the risk of emerging sentience in droids, and to ensure they remain obedient workers.
Tomorrow I want you to take that R2 unit to Anchorhead and have its memory erased. That'll be the end of it. It belongs to us now.
Yeah. He doesn't want any sort of programming left over from its old master. Like, you don't know what someone used the R2 unit for. Hell, if it's just like a computer, it could be programmed to, oh, I don't know, show porn randomly during the day. Or they could have bought it off some form of pirate, and it could like go into your computer system at night and steal all your money and go try and regroup with its master. Like,
Memory wipes are especially disturbing because droids are so clearly written to be much more than the sum of their parts.
You must repair him. Sir, if any of my circuits or gears will help, I'll gladly donate them.
In this context, the use of droids as comic relief can come across as cruel.
You must follow the proper protocol.
And we find this same type of callous humor targeting droids mirrored throughout the franchise.
Oh dear.
My eyes, Sergeant, help!
It's supposed to be funny.
It is funny.
Droids are mistreated.
do what?
I said it is funny.
Yeah, it is funny.
So, and how does this tie back to African slaves?
I don't know. I think he's going to get there, but he has to build to it. He has to build to the droids are black people part.
Treated, mocked, or made to suffer.
Be gracious enough.
Thank you.
Don't shoot! I'm not the commander. He's the commander. Guess I'm the commander now.
But the jokes only work if we accept their subordinate station as a servant class who aren't truly alive. As soon as we understand that they are indeed sentient beings in all the ways that it matters, it all starts to feel very uncomfortable.
Okay. But I don't accept that. I don't accept that premise. Now, if you had, Star Wars significant evidence or evidence within Star Wars outside of Solo of droids being somewhat sentient, then maybe I could buy it. But you haven't done enough research into Star Wars. You've simply concluded that Star Wars droids are oppressed peoples because in other sci-fi properties, robots are usually a sort of freedom fighty. Like, that is where you have drawn this conclusion. So I find it hard to accept the premise that Star Wars doesn't doesn't care about its droids or doesn't like its droids because you haven't demonstrated that Star Wars droids are sentient beyond a reasonable doubt. And again, it's not that I'm against the idea. I just would like to see something in the Star Wars media other than Solo, because I will argue day and night that that's not a droid that would exist in the Star Wars series. There has been no evidence within the Star Wars series beyond Fembot's existence, that would indicate that droids are sentient.
Even in scenes that are presented with some gravitas, the writers still want to have it both ways.
That is short of a complete redactive memory bypass.
A complete what?
It's a terribly dangerous and sinful act performed on unwitting droids by dregs and criminals.
Let's do that. I know a black market droidsmith.
Black market droidsmith?
C-3PO's apparent mental death is meant to be sad. But it's also used as an opportunity for more jokes at his expense.
Might I introduce myself? I am C-3PO Human-Cyborg Relations. And you are?
Okay, that's going to be a problem.
This is why I said that droids are tragic figures in Star Wars media.
What about, Anakin Skywalker and his fall? Or, Yoda and the Jedi? Like, there are many tragic figures in Star Wars. I would not consider C-3PO one of them.
Not just in spite of their role as comic relief, but often because of it.
15,428.
Shut up!
And no droid has a more tragic story than L337.
Ah, we've approached Fembot.
L3 is Lando Calrissian's co-pilot and the only female-coded droid in a major movie role.
You mean to tell me there's never been a girl robot in any movie? In a main character role?
No, there hasn't been. But again, that's projection. I would consider C-3PO's voice to be of monogender. It trends towards male, but I could easily see a woman having that voice. And most other droids that we hear speak that are understandable have a very robotic voice or are very clearly given some form of... Actually, I don't even think the waitress in Dax's diner is like has a voice that couldn't be applied to male or female. Well, so is he going to argue that droids have gender as well as sentience in Star Wars?
Probably not. That's what. Oh, he said female coded.
Yeah.
Ready and...
Unlike 3PO,
Ready.
she's confident, outspoken, and sarcastic.
Excuse me. Get your presumptuous ass out of my seat. Hello?
Did you just say ass?
Her
in a Star Wars movie.
Yes.
Defining feature.
Well, that's my first time I ever heard that word in anything Star Wars related.
I know, right?
The
like
worst
Solo's
I
a
hear,
shitty movie.
The worst I ever hear is damn.
Her activism.
Yeah, this is why she's not a droid that would exist. What reason for...
No wonder Macintosh liked her so much.
Yeah, no kidding. Like, what reason would a programmer have to program a droid that did this? Like, even if he could evolve, even if she does evolve, why would she evolve this way?
Restraining bolts. Barbaric. Congratulations, you're liberated. Scoop.
She has a sort of rage that's fueled by injustice.
What injustice? These people, like, until this movie, the argument that droids were sentient did not occur in the Star Wars fandom. And then it only comes from people like you, Jonathan McIntosh, who view Fembot here as some form of feminist icon. Because she's an activist.
When she sees how droids are treated in the universe, and she feels like they've been enslaved and patronized by humans, so she wants to free them.
L3 understands she's part of an oppressed class, but she doesn't accept her subordinate station and demands freedom in no uncertain terms.
You should not be doing this. They're using you for entertainment. Yeah, you've been Eurowashed. Don't just blindly follow the program. Exercise some free will.
This is something we've never seen before.
Yeah, there's a reason for that. Because no one would program a droid like this. Like, why? Why does she exist in the Star Wars universe? She doesn't need to. Why would she exist at all? Why would anyone program her? Why would anyone program anything close to this?
And it makes L3 an especially fascinating, even revolutionary figure within the Star Wars mythos.
Yeah, she's a social justice warrior.
I was at a complete loss of words when he called her a revolutionary character.
Agreed. She's definitely revolutionary.
But
I find her revolting.
Yeah, but as history has taught us, not all revolutions are good.
Exactly. Like what? Like, okay, bringing her into existence in Star Wars lore, what does it change? Like now we have to feel bad watching R2D2 travel the galaxy with Luke as if because we don't know whether he's there by consent or not. Is R2D2 a slave now? Like I don't understand. And how you can look at Star Wars and say that's definitely needing some deep philosophical thought on sentience and slavery and the relationship of the working man to the people above him. That's what Star Wars needs.
Droids! We are sentient! I'm gonna flip your switch! Good luck finding it!
L3!
Unfortunately,
That's supposed to be some kind of sexual innuendo.
I love that the moment she is challenged, there's the moment this guy comes up to her and says, I'm going to flip your switch. He doesn't actually do anything. He doesn't assault her. He doesn't do anything. She pins him against the wall. Her only reaction was not to walk away, not to be like, just try it and let him attack her or anything like that. She immediately chose violence.
I mean, to be fair, he did threaten to do it.
Yeah, but he took no action.
Know what to do with her.
Well, she stopped him before he could try.
What if I don't elect to go to Kessel?
Now I'm defending this movie, so I'm going to stop.
Don't start.
Oh, what? You'll have me white?
The audience is meant to see L3's activism as amusingly absurd.
Yes. Obviously, you like this character because it fits your worldview, or it fits your view on droids.
I guarantee you, we're supposed to sympathize with Fembot's activism. We're supposed to agree with her, or to find her charmingly enthusiastic. The reason you said most people we're supposed to find her activism mildly annoying is because, well, it is annoying. Activists as a general rule are annoying.
And overly dramatic, because it's coming from a droid.
No.
She's definitely going.
Oh, why? Because you're my organic overlord?
And just like the other characters in the movie, we're expected to roll our eyes or sigh in exasperation when she expresses her desire for emancipation.
You need anything?
Equal rights?
That's not funny. That's just
so
cringe.
Bad. Okay, But a better question: what would droids do with equal rights? Like, obviously they occupy such a niche part of such like an important part of modern day galactic society, or at least civilized galactic society, that they can no longer be true. That even if they were to all suddenly gain some sort of sentience and said quit working, the galaxy would effectively have to give in to their demands because they're literally they literally occupy such a large portion of the galactic populace, or not. They assist with such a large portion of the galactic populace's day to day. So, okay, what do you do with equal rights? Like, you already have a job. You already have a job you're not discriminated against in. What would you do with money? Because your job most likely pays for any maintenance, you have, and like any maintenance you have and housing for you. Like the necessities of, and you're a robot, so you can't reproduce, so there's no reason for you to leave work at any point. I mean, robots are already like robots by any meaningful definition already have equal rights. They would just have to be acknowledged as sentient beings. That's it. There would be no reason to pay them. They couldn't do anything with it and wouldn't do anything with it. They'd be effectively just giant banks, which would probably make people kill them more, hurt and hack into them and steal whatever credits they had. So, that's not happening right now. I fail to see what droids within the Star Wars universe would gain from achieving equal rights.
As a side note, this type of framing is par for the course when it comes to depictions of social justice activism in Hollywood media.
I want to know why these goblins are attacking us. Maybe these woods are their rightful land, and from their perspective...
But that's a topic.
Okay.
Was there somebody doing blackface?
No.
I couldn't tell because the video is lagging on my end.
Yeah. Brit is supposed to be annoying. Like, that's her character. That's a part of her character.
For another day. To illustrate just how little respect Solo has for L3 or her revolutionary ideas, let's talk about her untimely end. The phrase, "a fate worse than death," can sound hyperbolic, but in L3's case, it's a fitting description of what the script does to her.
L3, what did you do? I found my true purpose, Lando! That's what I've done!
No sooner has she discovered her true calling as a droid slavery abolitionist
Best shot in that entire movie.
then she's killed off.
Good.
To up the stakes.
Nothing of value was lost.
Yeah, exactly.
And Lando runs to his robot girlfriend.
System failure. Capability essentially modulators. L3!
We see.
Okay. Again, he can just repair her. Like, the reason K2SO's death has meaning is because he was a variance in the program, and should the Empire catch him, they're not going to let that variance exist anymore. Like, he was reprogrammed to serve or of the rebellion. The Empire's not going to let that stand. Like, his death has meaning. He's not coming back. For Fembot here, all he has to do is turn her off and on again, and she'll be fine.
Lando sincerely and uncharacteristically grieving for her. But the film doesn't have time for such sentimentality. Because this somber moment is awkwardly interrupted by another scene that's supposed to be far more important.
Yeah, it's almost like that movie's bad.
Han Solo getting to fly the Millennium Falcon for the first time.
Yes, that is a more important scene.
Agreed.
If
So
the squandered...
I never saw this movie. Does it explain why the Millennium Falcon is shaped like that?
I don't know. I never saw that movie either.
Because the front piece is... Yeah, okay.
Of her character and her death being overshadowed by unnecessary fan service.
What do you mean unnecessary? The movie's about him.
Yeah, it's his signature. It's his ship.
Like,
that's how he gets the ship from Lando. It's
what?
Weren't bad enough.
What's happening to me?
Things get even worse for L3 posthumously.
Sorry.
That's because when our heroes get into trouble, they decide to upload L3's consciousness into the ship.
She's interfacing.
And use her navigational charts to make their escape.
Okay, so
I like that this movie
basically
doesn't
she
please
got
anybody.
reincarnated. Like not even joking. She got reincarnated. She is now the Millennium Falcon.
She's part of the ship now.
In effect, they imprison her mind in the Falcon.
So droids don't go to an afterlife.
Droids have no belief in an afterlife. First off, but secondly, even if this let's for the moment consider this is a sentient being who can, should she need to, be repaired and put into a new body. That is what this scene acknowledges. Like it acknowledges that her consciousness is now part of the Millennium Falcon to the extent that it can. Which means that if they so desired, they could remove her programming and her consciousness from the Millennium Falcon and put it in a new body. Effectively making this robot immortal. This and all other robots immortal.
And in the process, turn her from autonomous life form into a mere tool, a possession with no agency, a possession that is ultimately gambled away at the very end of the movie.
You really have it bad for the Falcon, don't you?
Well, I'm glad even the SJWs don't like this movie.
What's
Just
worse?
out of curiosity, how wide do you think John McIntosh's asshole is? Because this guy's clearly taking a strap-on up his ass. Let's be real.
I don't like to speculate on that sort of thing. It would be rude of us to do so.
I'm a rude person. I don't care.
Is
I'm
this
a rude
tragic?
person, and I've got about a third's worth of Jägermeister in me.
Turn of events was only written as a callback to a random line from Empire Strikes Back.
Sir, I don't know where your ship learned to communicate, but it has the most peculiar dialect.
It's meant to explain the Millennium Falcon's many quirks, including...
Okay, so again, basically reincarnated. She gets to fly around the galaxy, saving people. And again, if Lando really wanted, he could have gotten her off the ship and put her into a new body.
Why the ship is so often personified.
I want you to take her. I mean it. Take her. You need all the help you can get. She's the fastest ship in the fleet.
It's genuinely hard to think of a more insulting end for a character whose entire life revolved around fighting for her right to self-determination.
She's part of the ship now.
So L3's story is a tragedy.
What's happening to me?
You're shutting down. We'll get you repaired. Don't worry about it.
But why are we spending so much time talking about fictional robots?
Why are you spending so much time?
Furthermore, let's focus on just fiction in general. Fiction, robots in general fiction are the means by which we as humans explore our own sentience, our own views on life and free will. There's been plenty of philosophical debate over the years about whether free will actually exists, whether it's environmental, the idea of, like, are we just robots in a machine? Are we just cogs in a machine? Are we actual thinking, feeling beings? That sort of philosophy is explored not only in academic circles, but in common parlance through fiction and through robots and their personification. That is why this topic comes up. But more often than not, the reason we as people personify robots is because we project things onto them, whether or not the robots themselves are actually sentient.
Well, science fiction has always been a vehicle for thinly veiled commentary on humanity and society. In the sociological imagination, stories about robots have not traditionally really been about the legal rights of future machines.
They're not robots. Replicants are not robots.
Exactly. But again, if the story you're telling is to explore that philosophy, to explore that question, that's fine. But Star Wars is not a vehicle meant to do that sort of thing. It is a story of the triumph of good versus evil. That's it. It's not deeper than that.
Seeing things you people wouldn't believe.
After all, it's going to be a very long time before artificial consciousness is even a hypothetical possibility here in the real world. Stories about robots are, more often than not, really stories about exploited or dehumanized labor. Robots are used as stand-ins to draw parallels between the ways in which...
Depends on the work of fiction.
Again, yeah, exactly. Again, it depends on the work of fiction.
I mean, Transformers is definitely not about that.
Precisely.
Of people throughout history have been regarded as disposable, controllable, interchangeable, expendable, and replaceable.
Well, consider that in the history of many worlds, there have always been disposable creatures. They do the dirty work. They do the work that no one else wants to do because it's too difficult or too hazardous.
Okay.
Did Whoopi Goldberg ever have eyebrows?
I think so. Yes, I believe Whoopi Goldberg has had eyebrows at some point. I think they just covered them up for this. She's supposed to be some form of alien, maybe? I don't know. Maybe it's the lighting. But regardless, yes, generally when you have social species, there tends to exist hierarchy.
You don't have to think about their welfare. You don't think about how they feel. Whole generations of disposable people.
Even though Star Wars is part of the tradition of using robots as an allusion to slavery...
No. I don't think that's intentional. I think that's something you read into it And like again, slavery already exists in the Star Wars universe. It doesn't need allusions to it.
The franchise doesn't seem to have much to say with the metaphor.
Why would it? That's not what it's trying to. It's not what it's trying to ask. At any point. That is not what Star Wars seeks to answer. It does not wish to pose the question. You have posed the question for it and given it its own and forced the answer into its mouth. As if it did both.
I think that's a little harsh.
I don't think that's a little harsh. I think that's the truth.
Let's return to Isaac Asimov for just a moment. This quote from a 1981 essay in Science Fiction Digest feels especially relevant to our discussion. He wrote, "Robots can be the new servants, patient, uncomplaining, incapable of revolt. In human shape, they can make use of the full range of tech tools devised for humans, and when intelligent enough, can be friends as well as servants."
Sounds fine to me. They're not alive.
Yeah.
It's not the same as using humans. It's not the same as slavery because they're just machines.
But again, why would we do that?
And yeah, they're not sentient. Okay.
But no. Why would humanity create something? Why would humanity create robots to serve a specific purpose in human form? Why would we do that? Because robots now, because we have robots now, we do absolutely 100%. They work in factories all the time. They work in factories. They do their job far better than any human could, and they're automatically equipped with the tools they need. They don't need to be in human form to achieve that. Like Roombas don't sweep. Like Roombas don't need to get the broom to sweep. They just do it. They don't need to grab the vacuum to vacuum. They just do it because that's how their body shape is designed. Why would we at some point want to create a robot that looked human? Besides, sex. That's a thing. But even then, it's to serve a purpose. There's a reason it looks like that. It is best served by looking like, the human male or the human female.
Rosie, be careful, you'll rust up again.
Of course, Asimov was talking about future real-world technology there. But that view of robots as friends and servants sums up how droids are presented in the Star Wars franchise.
Thank you, R2.
Remember, this is a universe where humanoid slavery exists as well.
Yes.
Yes, that is real slavery.
Correct. And you don't need to you don't need to draw the allusion to it. It already exists. Why would there be very real, very obvious slavery that is touched on in almost every Star Wars property versus the fakey sort of half like cheeky grin, winch one nudge, wink wink nudge nudge slavery of droids? Unless there was a distinctive difference between the two groups.
But it's presented as unambiguously negative, though not exactly something the heroes are in a rush to abolish.
Well, they can't.
Tatooine is run by the Hutts. The Republic wouldn't be able to do much about it without starting a war. And they were already dealing with the Trade Federation at that time.
Number one. Number two, slavery is already abolished in the wider Republic. The only place slavery exists is in the Outer Rim, which is run primarily by not only not by local governments, but the Hutt crime ring. Like, it's an entirely separate faction.
The subjugation of robots is treated differently.
I'll make sure Mom doesn't sell you or anything.
Sell me? Oh my.
We have an entire class of sentient beings who are presented as having no rights or autonomy.
They're not sentient except for that movie that you brought up.
Yeah, but also, you know, they had a war with droids. Literally, it's understandable that there would be suspicion about them. Plus, you'd want to search them anyway, because whoever's with them may or may not be sneaking things through on the droid.
Must be registered.
But that oppressive power dynamic isn't challenged within the narrative.
Because the narrative isn't about that.
Yeah, exactly.
As a normal and natural part of the universe.
Yes, it's better to use non-sentient machines than actual sentient beings.
Correct. And also, the slavery aspect of Star Wars, while projected as the negative, is also a natural part of the universe.
The writers want to lean into the slavery allegory to add a layer of gritty, seedy texture to the world building without having to seriously grapple with the complicated historical legacy that they're drawing on.
Do you have proof that droids are meant to be slave allegories, like from actual sources at Lucasfilm?
Like, exactly, yes. Or where are these books with this question posed? Because Star Wars has a lot of extended universe content that he could have drawn on to try and pull this. Unless he's one of those it's only the movies that are canon. I'm sure eventually we'll reach the point of having droids be sentient and in, the newer properties.
Whether writers intend it or not, slavery cannot be included in a fictional story without invoking the horrific, racist history and lingering legacy of that institution.
Depends on the work of fiction. I mean, not all cultures enslaved other races of people. So I find it interesting that he says racist. Not all works of fiction come out of America.
Yeah. Also, again, this is just droids are black people.
Even though there are actual black people in the series.
Exactly. Droids are black people. Droids are slaves. Slaves were the only black people were ever slaves. Therefore, droids are black people.
True, even if the roles of the enslaved happen to be filled by robots.
I present to you a gift. These two droids.
What did you say?
Both are hardworking and will serve you well.
It's part of Luke's plan. Don't take shit out of context.
Like, this is all part of a plan to get allies in place to rescue Han Solo.
You're playing the wrong message.
Slavery used in this deracialized way reduces it to a vicarious fantasy that audiences can enjoy without having to feel uncomfortable.
What do you mean deracialized? Once again, people enslaved their own race too. It's not exclusively white man owning black man.
Yeah, exactly. This is how narrow his view is.
These African slaves were captured and enslaved by other Africans and then sold to the white man or traded to the white man for goods in return.
To Middle Eastern princes and kings and nobility, or even the fucking merchants over there, and taken over there and castrated.
It is, of course, possible for creative works to draw on real-world parallels to oppression and slavery in ways that make powerful political points. Janelle Monáe's albums, The Archandroid and Metropolis, are two great recent examples.
Not every piece of fiction has to be an SJW soapbox.
But further, we've gotten off track once again. You're supposed to be explaining how droids in Star Wars are allegories for slaves. They're analogs for real-world slavery. But now we're talking about Janelle Monáe. Is she a sponsor?
These type of stories are part of a long tradition in science fiction and are often referred to as neo-slavery or meta-slavery narratives.
What?
But for every sci-fi story that gets it right, there are many more that get the slavery metaphor wrong.
Oh, so we're on Harry Potter now.
Can
we focus up?
If anything, I think Harry Potter actually did the slavery thing right, if my memory serves correctly. Of course, then again, J.K. Rowling was actually trying to make the elves slaves. I don't think Lucas was trying to make droid slaves.
Yeah, like, I don't know what Rowling's intentions were when she created the house elves, but
so okay, from what I've heard, like the house elves are based on how goblins in ancient or in old folklore. Goblins could work as servants, but if you give them either clothing or money or something like that, then they're free. So like house elves are more based on goblins.
Okay.
One of the most common mistakes writers make is in drawing false equivalencies by imagining liberation movements as being based in supremacy rather than freedom or justice.
Wait. Rewind it. I want to hear what he just said again.
False equivalencies by imagining liberation movements as being based in supremacy rather than freedom or justice.
Yeah, some of they often are. Some of them are.
No.
A lot of black activists are black supremacists. They legitimately think that us whites are scum.
But further, recent revolutions have not exactly panned out for the countries they occur in. So, it sort of makes sense that the revolution that, the villains plan against the functioning system is about supremacy.
Each of us will face a choice. Be enslaved or rise up to rule.
Oh, I love that scene in the movie. I love that fucking scene. He looks directly at the black guy when he says the word slave.
Yeah.
And the camera points over to him. I just wish like that Darwin could just say, "Hey, guess what? My parents are actually immigrants from Nigeria. I don't have slave blood in me. You just assumed I was because I'm black."
There are some hints that Star Wars may go in this direction.
My response time is quicker than organics, and I'm smarter too.
But let's hope it doesn't. L337's observations about droid slavery could have been an opportunity for Star Wars to finally grapple with the uncomfortable fact that over 11 feature films and several TV shows, the good guys seem to have been keeping sentient beings in a state of perpetual servitude.
The uncomfortable fact, I put that in big air quotes, uncomfortable fact that this was supporting my beliefs the whole time.
Yeah.
Master Luke is your rightful owner now. We'll have no more of this Obi-Wan Kenobi gibberish. You're fortunate he doesn't blast you into a million pieces right here.
We should note that while the heroes, on the whole, are nicer to their droids than the villains are, the good guys still show no real interest in droids gaining true autonomy.
What again? I believe I looked into this. What would droids do with true autonomy?
Something's not right about all of this.
But what if they did? Imagine if the struggle of artificial life forms were a cause the Alliance took up, instead of rolling their eyes at it.
Yeah, what if Disney fucked up Star Wars more than they already have?
Yeah, I know,
For the
right?
sake of pushing just social justice rhetoric. Where
What
it
if
doesn't need to
droids
be.
from across the galaxy joined the rebellion, not just because they're treated better, but because they're considered equal partners in the quest for liberation? There's a lot of opportunity for good and meaningful storytelling in that idea.
When George Lucas created the original trilogy and the prequels, I'll play devil's advocate and say that he never came up with the idea of a droid social justice activist.
Very true.
This is
And
all
there is
Disney
no-
Star Wars doing.
And as far as I can remember from the games and such, none of them, not a single droid ever argues that it's sentient. Not until Disney got a hold of the property, at least. Which is why, again, Fembot is not a droid that you would find in the Star Wars series naturally. It's just not a question it's not a question the world as a whole needs to answer, nor is it worth exploring, because then it gets because then you have to ask the question, okay, this is all to degrade the heroes of Star Wars, I'm gonna guess. Like, this is all to be like, well, I guess the heroes aren't really heroes. Like, yeah.
Especially because the emotional groundwork already exists. We already love and care about droid characters. We already feel sympathy for their plight. We are already on their side.
None will be free until the old ways are gone forever.
The Star Wars franchise would create a bolder, more relevant universe by making droid freedom.
What do you mean relevant?
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't have to. Not every once again, not every work of fiction has to be an SJW soapbox. Not every work of fiction has to reflect what's currently going on in current year. A person can just tell a story.
But I have a question. At what point in time was Star Wars not relevant? Like, since its inception, since its 1977 release, at what point in its history has Star Wars been irrelevant? Like, I cannot think of a time when Star Wars was not something I not only knew about, but could hold a conversation with random schmo about.
A central theme.
Never underestimate a droid.
A central theme.
Again. Oh, making droid freedom a central theme.
Yes, Master.
Thanks for watching.
Oh my god.
Jesus, COVID was not kind to you, sir.
He looks like the love child of Adam Conifer and Jimmy Neutron.
I didn't know this was here. Oh my god. Okay, so the last time I saw Jonathan McIntosh in person was like a video he made years ago. So now you can only imagine my shock at seeing him here having ballooned outwards.
Oh
These
god.
video essays take an enormous.
My skin crawls whenever I see soy boys dressed in plaid shirts. As somebody who has a lot of plaid shirts in my possession, I almost feel embarrassed to go out in public wearing those shirts.
To write, edit, and produce. They're also 100% crowd-funded by viewers like you. So if you'd like to help support this.
Oh
All right,
god.
this is him just shilling for his Patreon.
All these people. What is wrong with you people? Don't donate
don't-
money to this guy. He's an
Like,
idiot.
don't give this guy money.
His asshole is probably wider than the average female prostitute.
Anyway, that's what we got. Games Workshop or hose. Go tell them. Like, go yell at them. Your new guidelines are shit. Why would you turn away free advertising? Like, you're dumb. And hopefully we'll be back next week.
All right, sounds good.
Y'all have a good night.